The backyard was filled with the smoky smell of grilled meat and the sound of laughter. It was another one of those family gatherings where everyone pretended everything was perfect. I stood by myself near the garden, watching my relatives chat and drink. At 32, I was still the black sheep, the one who supposedly never got her life together. My sister Maya was the star of the show, as usual. She wore this bright yellow dress and told everyone about her latest achievements. Mom couldn't stop bragging about her. Maya just got her business degree from Columbia, she announced loudly enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. She's interviewing with top companies left and right. That girl has such a bright future ahead. I took a sip of my iced tea and waited for what always came next. Unlike some people, Mom continued, looking straight at me, who still haven't figured out what they want to be when they grow up. Right, Sarah? I just shrugged and stayed quiet. Dad was busy with the barbecue, but he couldn't resist joining in. Still playing around with that computer stuff? He asked with a laugh. What do you call it again? Some kind of online thing? His tone wasn't mean, but it wasn't respectful either. It never was. I ran my finger along my cold glass and thought about tomorrow morning's meeting. The one where I'd be signing papers to buy out our biggest competitor. The meeting where I, as founder and CEO of TechFlow Solutions, would approve our expansion into 3 new markets. Something like that, I said quietly, letting it go like I always did. Suddenly, Maya clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. Guess what, everyone? I have this amazing interview tomorrow with TechFlow Solutions. They contacted me directly. It's one of the most successful consulting firms in the state. The whole family erupted in cheers and congratulations. My cousin rushed over with a glass of wine. That's incredible, Maya. I saw a news story about their CEO recently. She's supposed to be this brilliant woman who built the whole company from nothing. Dad nodded approvingly. They're super picky about who they hire. You must really have impressed them. I almost choked on my drink. I remembered the resume sitting in my email. Maya's resume, which my HR team had flagged as barely qualified. She had no clue that the company she'd been obsessing over for months was actually mine. The same company I'd built from my tiny apartment 10 years ago while she was busy getting degrees that other people paid for. What job are you going for? I asked casually. Her face lit up like a Christmas tree. Senior business consultant. It's basically a management position. Can you believe it? Wow. I replied, hiding my smile behind my glass. I'm sure that'll be interesting. Maya laughed and then said in this fake sweet voice, maybe when I get hired, I can help you out, Sarah. I bet they need people to answer phones or something basic like that. Mom nodded like this was the most generous thing she'd ever heard. How thoughtful of you, honey. Your sister definitely needs all the help she can get. 32 years old and still doing whatever it is she does. She waved her hand dismissively in my direction. I thought about my office on the 30th floor of downtown's tallest building, about the magazine article that called me one of the top women entrepreneurs in the country. They'd used my professional name, S.R. Mitchell, and kept my photo shadowy to protect my privacy. I'd spent a decade building my empire in secret. By choice. I always knew this day would come eventually. That's really nice of you to offer, I said calmly. Good luck tomorrow. Maya smoothed down her dress, like she was already practicing for her executive role. Luck is for people who don't work hard enough. You should try putting in some real effort sometime. The conversation moved on to other family gossip, while I just listened. Tomorrow would change everything. And I wanted to remember this moment, the last time they'd all see me as the family failure. As the sun started setting, Maya stood up and clinked her glass for attention again. I should head home early, she announced. I want to be fresh for tomorrow. The actual CEO of TechFlow is going to be in my final interview. Some woman named S.R. Mitchell. Nobody really knows much about her personally. Maya flipped her hair confidently. But I'm sure she'll love me. By tomorrow night, I'll be part of their executive team. She looked at Mom with a wink. Maybe then you'll finally have something to brag about. Mom actually started tearing up. Oh, sweetheart, we're already so proud. At least one of my daughters stayed focused on her goals. I checked my phone. In about 14 hours, Maya would walk into that conference room and see me sitting at the head of the table. In 14 hours, everything they believed about me would crumble. I gathered my things and mumbled something about having work to do. Oh, right, your little remote job, Mom said dismissively. Just don't forget to send money for Dad's birthday present. Maya already covered most of it again. I nodded without saying anything. They didn't need to know that my little remote job had made more money last quarter than most people see in a lifetime. Let them think whatever they wanted. I got into my plain gray car, the boring one I drove to family events, leaving my luxury sports car safely parked at the office downtown. As I backed out of the driveway, I could hear Maya's voice carrying across the yard. Tomorrow changes everything. She was absolutely right. Just not the way she thought. By 6:30 the next morning, I was already in my corner office, watching the sunrise over the city. The quiet sounds of the building coming to life were somehow comforting. I'd built all of this from nothing, and today it would all come full circle. I put on my best navy blue power suit. It felt less like clothes and more like armor. My assistant, Jennifer, knocked softly before coming in. Your sister's interview is scheduled for 9 sharp, she said, handing me a folder. She's already downstairs. Got here 30 minutes early. Punctual. That's new for her, I said, raising an eyebrow. She's also been posting on social media about her future executive position here. Marketing noticed. She even told our front desk staff that she plans to modernize the vibe once she's hired. I couldn't help but laugh. Has she now? I opened the folder to look at Maya's resume. On paper, she looked perfect. Great grades, nice internships, glowing recommendations. But I knew the truth. The internships came through Dad's golf buddies. The recommendations were from our uncle's law firm where she'd barely worked. It was all connections and no substance. The board is curious why you're handling this interview personally, Jennifer added with a knowing look. Quality control, I said simply, standing up from my desk. How many interviews before she gets to me? 3, Jennifer replied. All are senior people. They know what questions to ask. By 9 o'clock, I was watching through the one-way glass as Maya strutted into our main conference room. Designer suit, expensive shoes, attitude for days. She shook hands with the first interviewer like she already owned the place. Over the next 2 hours, I watched her confidence slowly fall apart. Every rehearsed answer got picked apart. Every shallow accomplishment got questioned. Every assumption got challenged. By the time she got to the final interview with me, she looked tired, uncertain, and stressed. Send her in, I told Jennifer. Maya walked into my office, trying not to look impressed by the floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive art, and commanding view of the city. My chair was turned away from her, facing the windows. Please sit down, Miss Johnson, I said in a professional voice. Thank you so much for meeting with me, Ms. Mitchell, she replied, folding her hands in her lap. I know how busy you must be. I turned my chair around slowly, letting the moment stretch out. Actually, I said, looking directly into her eyes, it's Ms. Sarah Rose Mitchell. All the color drained from her face as reality hit her. The name on the building, the initials in the press releases, the sister she'd been dismissing for years. Hello, Maya, I said with a calm smile. Surprised to see your directionless sister running the company you've been dreaming about? She blinked rapidly, her perfect composure completely falling apart. Whatever polished speech she'd practiced was gone. But this can't be right, she stammered. You just do freelance work from home. That's what Mom told everyone. Do I? I gestured toward the wall behind me, covered with awards, magazine covers, and recognition for TechFlow Solutions being one of the fastest-growing companies in the region. I built this entire company from scratch while you and Mom were laughing about my computer stuff. Every time you showed off your degree, I was closing million-dollar deals. Every time Dad called my work a phase, I was hiring more employees. You tricked us. Her voice cracked, getting higher with disbelief. You lied to everyone. No, Maya, I replied calmly. You all tricked yourselves. You were so convinced I was a failure that none of you ever bothered to ask what I was actually doing. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, turning the screen so she could see. Remember that birthday money Mom mentioned? I just sent my share. It's more than most people make in a year. For me, it's loose change. Tears filled her eyes, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry, humiliated tears. So what now? Are you going to embarrass me in front of the whole family? I shook my head. I don't need to say anything. Your interview performance today speaks for itself. 3 different managers, completely independent of each other, all recommended we don't hire you. Too entitled, too shallow, unprepared, arrogant. You set me up for failure. I gave you exactly what you asked for, an interview with the CEO. It's not my fault you weren't ready for it. I stood up, smoothing my suit. I suggest you look elsewhere for work, Maya. And maybe get some real experience this time. Something beyond social media posts and Dad's connections. She stood up shakily, her expensive outfit suddenly looking more like a costume than professional wear. Do Mom and Dad know who you really are? They will, I said, walking toward the door. I'm sure you'll tell them all about your interview with S.R. Mitchell. I pressed the intercom button. Jennifer, please escort Miss Johnson out. And cancel my dinner plans with the family tonight. I have a board meeting that needs my attention. As the door closed behind her, I could hear her voice break in the hallway, followed by quiet crying. Not exactly the victory lap she'd planned. Within an hour, my phone was buzzing with family messages. Mom was first. What kind of sick joke is this? Maya is devastated. Then Dad. How could you humiliate your sister like this? We raised you better than this. I looked at the messages, took a deep breath, and turned my phone face down. They finally knew who I really was. They just hadn't figured out yet that I'd stopped needing their approval years ago. I sent one message to the family group chat. You raised me to be successful. Congratulations, you did. Maybe now you'll recognize what real achievement looks like. Then I turned off my phone and got back to what actually mattered, running a multi-million-dollar company that had revolutionized an entire industry while they were too busy mocking me to notice. Let them adjust to this new reality at their own pace. I wasn't going to slow down for their discomfort. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Family phone calls became awkward and strained. The dismissive jokes about my work disappeared, replaced by uncomfortable silences and forced smiles during video calls. Maya eventually took a basic coordinator job at a small firm across town. It wasn't the career-defining opportunity she'd imagined. No fancy title, no corner office, just regular work that she had to earn the normal way. Mom and Dad stopped hosting their weekly family dinners. Maybe they were embarrassed. Maybe they didn't know how to handle having a daughter they'd underestimated now running an empire they'd once ridiculed. But the moment that sealed everything happened 3 months later. A major business magazine published a cover story called The Quiet Success, How One Woman Built a Fortune While Her Family Thought She Was Failing. My picture was on the cover, full face, professional suit, with TechFlow's headquarters in the background. No shadows, no mystery, just me. I had copies delivered to every family member's house. No note, no message, just the magazine and the truth. The article told my whole story, from doing small freelance jobs in a cramped apartment to building one of the most innovative technology companies in the country. It talked about the struggles, the sacrifices, and the determination they never saw because they never bothered to look. The final line read, "Sometimes success doesn't need to announce itself. Sometimes it just pays the bills." And honestly, that was enough for me. I didn't need their praise anymore, or their recognition, or their approval. I had built something real, something lasting, something they could never diminish or take away. Let them tell their friends whatever story makes them feel better. Let them pretend they always believed in me. Meanwhile, I'll be at TechFlow, expanding into new markets, closing bigger deals, and mentoring the next generation of entrepreneurs who are building their dreams in the shadows. Success had already spoken for itself, and I had no intention of turning down the volume. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who should have supported you most, I see you. I spent years being called unfocused, impractical, and lost. While my sister collected praise, I was the family's disappointment. But I didn't fight back with arguments or try to win their approval. I built something they couldn't ignore, even if they wanted to. Your worth isn't defined by how others see you. It's defined by how you see yourself and what you're willing to work for. So, if you've ever felt small at a family gathering, if you've hidden your success to keep peace, or if you're building something great in the shadows, share your story in the comments. Tell me what you're working on, what you've overcome, or who you're proving wrong. Not for revenge, but for your own peace of mind. And if you felt even a spark of recognition watching me go from family failure to CEO, make sure to subscribe. Not just for more stories like this, but to join a community that sees through the noise and recognizes quiet strength for what it really is. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. We'll keep building. Because sometimes the best way to win is to work in silence until your name is on the door.